In the summer of 1881, a gentle boy named Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore was born in a peaceful village called Mold on the Wold. He was the first son of Percival and Kendra Dumbledore, and the elder brother to Ariana and Aberforth. Even as a child, Albus showed kindness and quiet wisdom, but his early life would soon be marked by tragedy. When Ariana was a little girl, frightened Muggle boys attacked her for accidentally performing magic, leaving her deeply traumatized with her powers unstable. In anger, their father Percival Dumbledore attacked the boys in revenge. He chose prison in Azkaban rather than risk Ariana being taken away. Kendra then moved the family to Godric's Hollow, hoping a quieter village might help Ariana heal. Years passed, but Ariana's condition remained delicate. Then in June 1899, the worst happened. During one of Ariana's uncontrolled fits, a stray spell struck her mother. Kendra Dumbledore was killed in the accident, plunging the family into despair. Albus, who had just finished his schooling, suddenly found himself head of his very small family. He set aside a planned world tour with his friend Alpheus Doge and took on the care of Ariana and Aberforth. Godric's Hollow became full of sorrow, and Albus gave up all thoughts of travel to look after his siblings. That same summer brought another visitor, Bathilda Bagshot. The Dumbledore family's celebrated historian and longtime friend introduced Albus to a brilliant young wizard, her great-nephew, Gellert Grindelwald. The two talented youths quickly became close. Over many days, they met under the old oak trees and shared dreams of magic and destiny. They became convinced that the three legendary Deathly Hallows could reshape the world for the greater good, and in a candlelit barn ceremony, they swore a magical blood pact never to fight one another. For a brief time, it seemed Albus and Gellert might change the world together, but fate had other plans. One night in August 1899, Aberforth came home and confronted them about leaving Ariana. A heated argument broke out among the three. Little Ariana, frightened by the voices, ran between them. In the chaos, a curse flew from someone's wand and struck Ariana. She fell, dying instantly in Albus's arms. Heartbroken, Albus blamed himself forever. Aberforth and Albus fought bitterly over the loss, and Albus never returned to Godric's Hollow as before. Soon after, Albus left for years of travel with Alpheus Doge, wandering wizarding lands in search of knowledge and solace. They visited enchanted forests and old libraries in far lands, but no matter how far he roamed, Albus carried Ariana's memory always in his heart. Amidst these sorrows, Albus Dumbledore also found a place of wonder and growth at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. He began his schooling in 1892 and was sorted into Gryffindor House. The castle itself seemed to welcome him. The Sorting Hat recognized Albus's bravery and kindness, and he settled into Gryffindor life immediately. He proved to be extraordinarily gifted. By the end of his first year, friends like Alpheus Doge, whom he befriended on the train despite Doge's dragonpox scars, recalled that Albus was destined for greatness. He quietly mastered spells and charms and left many teachers amazed by his talent. Albus graduated in June 1899 with the highest honors. He took his NEWT exams under Professor Griselda Marchbanks and dazzled her with his skill. Marchbanks later said Albus had performed magic on an exam wand that no wizard had ever seen. He finished his schooling as a champion student and a loyal Gryffindor, beloved by classmates and teachers. Even at school he carried a warm light. He often strolled the corridors, humming old tunes, and quietly helped any student in need. At night, he would sit in the library by candlelight, reading through old magical tomes as if every page were a treasure. After Hogwarts, Albus spent years traveling and studying magic around the world. He studied alchemy and ancient runes, and even aided the famous alchemist Nicolas Flamel and his wife. With Flamel, he succeeded in creating the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary achievement. He also discovered the 12 uses of dragon's blood, a remarkable advance in potion making. He loved to invent. For example, he built a clever device called the Deluminator, which could snuff out and then restore light at will. And throughout these years, Albus remained humble and curious. Even as a student and later as a young teacher, Dumbledore enjoyed life's small joys. He often played chamber music with friends, delighted in Muggle hobbies like 10-pin bowling and savored sweets, especially sherbet lemons. He even spent quiet nights knitting colorful scarves, a hobby that amused his colleagues wizardingworld.com. But his greatest friend was Fawkes the Phoenix. Fawkes would burst into flames and be reborn, and his loyalty to Dumbledore was legendary. Once, when Dumbledore was struck by a killing curse, Fawkes took the curse himself and was consumed in golden flame to save Albus's life. The bird's warm cry filled the air as it healed in ashes. Throughout these years, Albus's kindness and wisdom became famous in wizarding circles. He spoke many languages, even secret ones. He learned Parseltongue, snake language, and could speak to merpeople in their own tongue. He once bore a curious scar above his left knee in the shape of the London Underground symbol, though he never told anyone how it got there. He poured love into teaching and friendship. Students say he always had time to answer questions and to reassure those who were afraid. It was quietly said that nothing truly escaped his notice or slipped past those twinkling eyes. By the 1920s, Albus Dumbledore had returned to Hogwarts to share his knowledge. In 1927, he was appointed Professor of Transfiguration, and for decades he taught that subject with warmth and creativity. Under his guidance, young witches and wizards learned more than just spells. They learned to care for each other. He was gentle when students made mistakes and enthusiastic when they succeeded. His lessons were calm and engaging. Even the shyest child would find comfort in his presence. In 1966, after 40 years as a professor, Dumbledore became Headmaster of Hogwarts. The wizarding world recognized him as one of the greatest wizards of the age. He had already served as Supreme Mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards and as Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot. He received honors like the Order of Merlin First Class for his service. Yet at Hogwarts, he remained humble. His office shelves were cluttered with curious jars and singing instruments, and Fawkes the Phoenix often rested on its perch. When students caught sight of him in the halls, twirling his long beard or wearing colorful robes, they still found in his twinkling eyes the same kindness he had as a young teacher. Even as headmaster, Dumbledore loved simple pleasures. He would sometimes put out snacks for visiting owls or play chamber music for the late-night listener. On snowy winter nights, he might be seen in the common room knitting a warm scarf for a student without a home. And the students learned that their beloved headmaster also had a playful side. He once jokingly told Harry that he saw himself wearing a nice pair of socks in the Mirror of Erised. Later, J.K. Rowling revealed that Dumbledore was hiding a deeper truth. His real wish was always to see his own lost family alive and happy again. That quiet longing he carried never left him, but he chose to keep it private. Throughout his career, Dumbledore was known as a champion of light and goodness. He even founded the Order of the Phoenix, a secret society to stand against evil. It was said of him that he was a father figure to Harry Potter and the only wizard that Voldemort ever feared. He guided magical policy but never lost a caring touch. House elves and goblins trusted him, thinking him kind even to those society overlooked. He often reminded others of the power of love and choice, saying things like, "Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light." This gentle wisdom became one of his lasting legacies. In 1945, Dumbledore faced the only foe more dangerous than Voldemort, his old friend, Gellert Grindelwald. Grindelwald's reign of terror spanned continents, and only Dumbledore dared stand against him. Finally, compelled by duty, Albus confronted Grindelwald in a duel of titanic skill. It was said to last an hour, with spells flashing like lightning. In the end, Dumbledore emerged victorious, ending Grindelwald's dark campaign. He took possession of the fabled Elder Wand, though he never flaunted its power, preferring instead to hide it away. This victory earned Dumbledore great honor, but he always remembered it as a bittersweet necessity. Decades later, a new shadow fell on the world. By the 1970s, Dumbledore quietly watched the rise of Lord Voldemort. He had recognized the young Tom Riddle for the danger he would become. In 1967, Voldemort himself came to Hogwarts to ask for a teaching position. Dumbledore interviewed him for defense against the dark arts and calmly refused, protecting the school from evil before it could enter. That refusal was nearly disastrous, but Dumbledore had sensed Voldemort's soul and acted on instinct. Not long after, Voldemort's early campaign of terror began, and Dumbledore already had a plan. Dumbledore quietly organized the Order of the Phoenix. During Voldemort's first war, he gathered old friends, Aurors like James and Lily Potter, Sirius Black, and others, as well as brave new recruits. They worked from safe houses and hidden headquarters. Dumbledore protected the Potters with all the means he had. He saw that Lily's love for Harry would make a special protection, and on a Halloween night in 1981, it took effect. In the later 1970s and 1980s, Dumbledore remained a beacon of hope. In 1980, he secretly summoned Professor Trelawney, who made a prophecy about a child born at summer's end. Voldemort learned part of that prophecy through Severus Snape, and in despair, targeted the Potters that Halloween night. Dumbledore foresaw this. He rushed to Godric's Hollow that night, meeting Snape on a lonely hilltop. By the time Albus reached the Potter's home, however, Lily and James had already been killed, protecting baby Harry. Dumbledore arrived too late to save them and cradled the dying Harry in his arms. He then placed Harry with the Dursleys for safety, leaving a note and powerful protection there. On the street, under torchlight, he whispered, "Be safe, child," before vanishing into the night with Harry's blanket. Albus Dumbledore never met Harry as a baby, but from that Halloween night on, he became Harry's silent guardian. He made sure Harry's summers with the Dursleys stayed tolerable, then welcomed him each September to Hogwarts like a beloved student. Over 11 years, Dumbledore left subtle clues to help Harry grow. For Christmas 1991, Harry found an invisibility cloak under the tree, a gift from Dumbledore that once belonged to his father. The note said, "Use it well," ensuring Harry would always have a way to protect himself, a surprise arranged by Dumbledore in secret. Harry never knew who truly sent the cloak, but Dumbledore watched from afar, pleased to see the boy's delight. At school, Dumbledore guided Harry gently. He put Harry on high remark. He solved the mystery of the monster in the Chamber of Secrets, though by then Professor Dumbledore was ruling. He helped Harry learn from each task. Each exam season, Dumbledore showed personal concern. Once, he detained Professor McGonagall until she granted Harry a critical exception on a detention. Each Halloween, he made sure Harry had the things he needed. In Harry's mind, Dumbledore was always watching with a soft smile, proud of each courageous deed Harry performed. Privately, Dumbledore became Harry's mentor. He shared portions of his long memory in the pensive, showing Harry pieces of Tom Riddle's past and other key moments. He explained to Harry the truth about Horcruxes, teaching him the only way to defeat Voldemort. He sent Harry on missions with all tools he could spare, a phoenix's tear, the sword of Gryffindor, the set of all 4 house cards from chess, even as he let Harry make his own choices. His faith in Harry never wavered, and he taught by example that choosing kindness and friendship was stronger than any dark magic. No matter what terrors came, Dumbledore remained calm and comforting. He once watched in silence as Dementors swarmed the school and then appeared in a flash to drive them away with a swish of his wand. He turned a school emergency into a lesson in courage, always keeping Harry's trust. He stressed that fear should not control them and that love was their greatest power. Through every secret meeting and shared cup of tea in his office, he conveyed the same message. Harry, you are not alone, and you are loved. In 1997, the war with Voldemort reached its climax at Hogwarts. On the night of June 30th, Harry and Dumbledore returned from a quest together. As Death Eaters attacked the castle, Harry hid under his invisibility cloak to watch. Above him, on the astronomy tower, Dumbledore faced Draco Malfoy, who was unable to harm him. Gently, Dumbledore disarmed Draco and protected him from the real villains, defending the boy even as he quaked in fear. Harry, heart in his throat, saw Dumbledore protect Draco with no anger, a final act of mercy. Then Severus Snape arrived. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Then, as Dumbledore had arranged long before, Snape raised his wand and cast the killing curse. Albus Dumbledore fell. It was as if the very walls of Hogwarts sighed. The lights from the torches dimmed briefly. In the silence that followed, Draco realized he had been spared, that Dumbledore had saved him from vengeance, even as his own life was ending. News of Dumbledore's death rippled through the wizarding world like a chill wind. The very next day, Hogwarts paused for a funeral unlike any other. On July 3rd, 1997, the Great Hall became a field of remembrance. A double rainbow arced across the sky above the castle, and as students and teachers and order members gathered, merpeople rose from the Black Lake to sing a mournful lament. Owls circled with lit candles, and even the portraits of past headmasters looked on with tears. In hushed tones, everyone spoke of Dumbledore as the greatest headmaster Hogwarts ever had. Professor McGonagall, his deputy and dear friend, wept quietly as she placed his portrait in the hall. A final honor. Dumbledore's story did not end with his death. A few months later, after Voldemort's defeat, Harry found himself in a misty limbo resembling King's Cross Station. There he saw Dumbledore once more, standing calm and grandfatherly in a bright white mist. Dumbledore's eyes were full of understanding as he spoke softly about love, death, and the value of choice. In that moment, Harry felt loved and guided. Dumbledore's last gift was to send Harry back with hope instead of despair. In the years that followed, Albus Dumbledore became something of a comforting legend. Hogwarts installed a portrait of him in the headmaster's office. Students could sometimes hear it whisper tips during exams. Parents told bedtime stories of the wise old wizard in swishy robes and a twinkling eye who defeated dark wizards and taught everyone the power of love. Generations of witches and wizards learned that the greatest magic of all was compassion, because that was Dumbledore's teaching. He also appeared on screen, immortalizing his story for a new generation. In the Harry Potter films, he was portrayed by Richard Harris and then Michael Gambon. In the Fantastic Beasts films, set decades earlier, a young Albus is played by Jude Law. These adventures show Albus as a brilliant Hogwarts professor plotting against Grindelwald, still sending Newt Scamander on missions to help friends and stop evil. They remind us that long before Harry, Dumbledore was quietly inspiring others to be brave. According to canon, Albus Dumbledore's life spanned from 1881 to 30 June 1997. 115 years of living, learning, loving, and leading. Over those decades, he knew triumph and tragedy, laughter and loss. His tale is told gently, like a soothing bedtime story. From the quaint village of his birth, through the halls of Hogwarts, to the final peaceful moments under a summer moon, every part of Albus's life is narrated as calmly as if a kind voice were reading it aloud before sleep. Albus was far from perfect, but he faced his mistakes with honesty and heart. In telling his life, people remind themselves that he once said, "It is our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities." Even when he carried guilt, he forgave himself and others. He believed deeply in second chances. Students today still say that if Dumbledore were alive to tuck them in, he would whisper a final lesson, that even the smallest act of kindness can light up the darkest day. As this story ends, the soft light of Hogwarts fades to night. We imagine Dumbledore's peaceful office, shelves of books, Fawkes the Phoenix softly sleeping, and Dumbledore gently playing with a crystal ball. One can almost hear him saying good night. And if we listen closely, we might hear his whisper drifting on the wind. Good night. Sleep well, dear witches and wizards. Always remember to turn on a little light in the darkness.